Depending on your level of enthusiasm for watches, you may or may not have heard of the watchmaker FP Journe. If you haven't, welcome to one of the most impressive watchmakers you've never heard of, and if you have, prepare to be even more impressed by the brand than you already are. The use of gold in watches is hardly anything noteworthy. For FP Journe, using gold in the production of its watches should be nothing more than a line on the spec sheet, almost a given when you consider the exclusivity and price point of the brand's watches. Making only 800 pieces a year and charging tens of thousands of pounds, you want a splash of gold by default. Many brands have used gold on their higher-end pieces. In fact, it would be a more impressive exercise to list all the brands that haven't used the precious metal. But we're here to talk about why FP Journe's use of gold is impressive, and so far we're failing, especially since the case here is actually made of platinum. Well, how about this? You've seen movements with gold rotor weights, or at least partly gold rotor weights, before. Think Automatique, Vacheron Constantin, Breguet. The same is true of FP Journe, featuring a rotor weight carved from the finest 22 karat rose gold, a resplendent guilloche pattern hewn on its surface. But the really special bit is what's underneath, because not only is the rotor weight fashioned from gold, but so is the caliber itself. This is true of all FP Journe calibers, using the harder 18 karat variety for the cocks, bridges and plates to offer a truly unique view when the watch is upended. And it doesn't stop there, because FP Journe still has a bit more gold fever to burn, this time on the front of the watch instead. It may not seem so, but the dials themselves are manufactured from gold as well, glowing bright beneath the textured silver finish. You can even opt to have the silver coating polished off the numbers for a bright mirror finish instead. When buying something expensive that's only made in small numbers, it's usually a given that it's going to be a bit delicate. There's just not the time or the budget for smaller companies to engineer to the levels of the big conglomerates, and so the inevitable happens and the products break or don't work very well. It's just one of those things that's come to be accepted. Although, not if Francois-Paul Journe is going to have anything to do with it. Cutting his teeth designing high-end movements on contract for brands like Piaget before he established FP Journe, he quickly understood the need for his watches to be robust and usable. He wanted to make watches his customers could actually wear. With this in mind, the Octa collection was built right from the start to have a single case size that could fit any variation of complication the brand could hope to produce. An enormous amount of foresight, perhaps, but one that pays dividends down the line in the reduction of both production costs and engineering headaches. And for the Automatique caliber 1300 family, it was determined that a usable watch in rotation within a collection would need more than just a few measly days of power reserve, so a big mainspring barrel was fitted, brimming with 5 days juice, enough to see out the working week and be ready at the weekend at a moment's notice. That's all fine in theory, but what if the person wearing the watch is sedentary and not adequately winding the movement with their wrist? FP Journe thought of that as well, introducing an asymmetric winding rotor that uses unidirectional locking ball bearings to preload the winding system in order to completely remove all slack, so that when it does wind, every nanometer of motion helps to top up the power. The most impressive part about an FP Journe is the way it looks. Before I elaborate, let's think about some of the most iconic designs that watchmaking has produced over the years, like the Rolex Submariner, the Omega Speedmaster, the Panerai Luminor. These are all iconic, yet share another trait: simplicity. There are, of course, those bolder style icons like the Automatique Royal Oak and the Patek Philippe Nautilus that really push design to its limits, but those are most certainly the exception, the progeny of classical masters who have earned the right to go a little bit crazy every now and then. FP Journe, on the other hand, was established in 1999. That's the same year The Matrix came out, hardly what you'd call a period of classicism. The temptation for FP Journe to embrace the modern and build something outrageous in order to create a brand identity must have been strong, but ultimately not right. So that's the challenge, creating a look that has timeless appeal but can also be recognised at a glance. Easier said than done, but somehow done it was. There's nothing in an FP Journe that stands out as being bold or brash, yet the whole is very distinctly Journe. It's in the little details, the considerations that look so effortless, yet were probably born of many late meetings and sleepless nights. The teardrop hands, for example, so simple, nothing superfluous about them, yet such a unique identifier. Same with the font, lodged somewhere between the past and the present, and how it rings the dial, supremely graceful and unforced. The skinny crown with its coiled rope edge, again a useful touch rather than design for design's sake. All of it together, the sum of the parts, it couldn't be anything other than an FP Journe. There's a reason FP Journe has been honoured time and time again by so many awards and accolades in its so far short existence. It's easy to question why, with a cynical eye, to look for the corner cutting and gimmicks that launched the brand into the stratosphere so quickly, but the truth is it's simply the result of hard work and exceptional thinking, the likes of which seldom come around. So often we look back to find the marvels of watchmaking, when it's actually happening right here in front of us. Discover more exceptional watches at watchfinder.co.uk. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If there are any other watches you'd like to see reviewed, please let us know in the comments below.